Hello and good morning friends, welcome to CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that since very long we have been carrying a series on media economics and today we are going to conduct another lecture on this particular series, and under this series today we are going to talk about mass media and consumer media. Under this topic we are going to learn more and more, and for this we have with us in our studios Dr. C.P. Singh. He is Dean in School of Mass Communication, Guru Gobind Singh IP University. I would like to tell you all that he has authored numerous books, and one of the book is Before the Headlines, publisher Macmillan. As well as I would like to tell you more that he has also authored Media Dictionary IK International, as well as he is the chapter contributor to Making News, Oxford University Press, Understanding Media, NCERT Media Textbooks, as well as he has prepared various case studies for the World Bank, UNICEF, MTNL, HOTCO. As well as a professor, he has contributed immensely, and if I talk about his industrial experience, he worked with the Times of India Group, Fairfax, Australia, Discovery Channel, and many more. So I hope that from this lecture today we are going to learn more and more. So first of all, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. C.P. Singh.
Thank you.
Welcome to the EDISEC lecture, sir. As I told all the viewers as well as the students who must be watching us right now that we have conducted series of lectures on media economics, and as we have chosen the topic mass media and consumer media. First of all, I wish to know through you what basically this topic means and where we are going to take this lecture forward.
Thank you, Gitika, and thank you for introducing me in a very praiseworthy manner, maybe some of which I may not deserve at all. Today we'll be talking about mass media and consumer media. Till now, mostly media has been associated with mass media, at least for the last more than 200 years. But recently, now this very concept of mass media and mass audience are being questioned. They are being questioned because historically we have associated media with mass media and mass media with mass audiences. When we say mass audiences, meaning through media we are able to reach out to access huge number of people, audiences at the same time. So it is large number of people at the same time and the same thing being communicated to them. That is what makes mass media. Examples are television, newspaper, magazines, radio, etc. But during the last 25 to 30 years, there has been a proliferation of technology, and this technology has not only revolutionized the traditional media like newspapers and television or radio, but it has come up with a number of other digital platforms like internet, mobile, smartphones, personal digital assistants, laptop, tablets, notebooks, and they have given wings to the imagination of the consumers. Earlier, the consumers had not many choices. It would be wrong to say that at any point in time the consumer was massified or the consumer was a mass, just a mass, member of the aggregate mass, and its attribute in terms of gender or age or purchasing capacity or culture, tastes and preferences were the same or were homogeneous. Actually, they had no choices. There was no flexibility. So they were treated by the media companies in terms of locating them in their business model as part of the aggregate mass. Now the technology has made it possible to treat them or let them be treated as an individual, as a small groups. Let's have some examples. In any small time in yester years, or even a big town, there used to be 3 to 4 newspapers, 2 to 3 channels, 2 to 3 radio channels. That's it. Till 80s, or to early 90s, in India, we had not many television channels. The private channels came later. Same applies to radio. The licenses to private radio channels were given much later. Now from 2 to 3 newspapers, say for example in Delhi, we have moved on to 15 to 20 newspapers, and it includes broadsheets, tabloids, Hindi, English, and they are catering to different kind of readers. For example, Hindustan Times and Times of India address the upwardly mobile middle class in English. Similarly, Navara Times, Hindustan would be addressing the upwardly mobile middle class in Hindi. If you look for Dainik Jagran, then it is addressing a much larger mass of audience than say Hindustan and Navara Times. So different groups of audiences, different kinds of audiences, which you call fragmented audience, are being reached as per their requirement. Same we have got television channels. The television channels are catering to, or rather they should be catering to, the different segments of the audiences in order that they survive. They survive business-wise. They survive in terms of the revenue that they are able to garner or generate from subscription as well as advertisements. If time permits, we would like to have a segment of 15 to 20 minutes, if possible, on the nature of television news channels and their revenue models and the challenges that they have in terms of fragmented audience. Right now we will be talking about the comparison between the mass media and the consumer media and how they are going to be different. And that difference is something which defines the manner in which those who are producing content and those who are buying time and space in and on media. But both the groups, advertisers as well as content producers, are chasing the consumers. Why? As a newspaper or as a television program producer, you are chasing the consumers or the audiences through your content. You want to make the kind of content which a segment of the consumers would like it and would like to spend time and money on this. At the same time, the advertisers would like to buy time on radio, time on television to access those audiences and consumers so that they are able to tell them about their products and services. And this is how a media product becomes different from the other goods and services. We call it the dual nature of media product. For example, you buy a laptop. When you buy a laptop, you pay the full price for it. You buy a pen, you buy a table, you buy a car, you pay the full price. as different from this. When you read a newspaper, you will see that you are paying, in case of say daily newspapers, especially major English and Hindi newspapers, you are hardly paying even 10% of the total cost that has gone into the production of the newspapers. For example, the Times of India any day might be costing 50 rupees, and we are paying how much, Geetika? 5 rupees?
Yes, sir. We are paying 5 rupees.
So who is paying the remainder of the cost, 45 rupees? That 45 rupees is coming from the advertisers. Since there are two sources, the dual sources of earning money or revenue, we call it a dual product. Producer is charging for the product from the consumer on the one hand, and on the other, advertisers are also paying to the newspapers or channels for accessing those consumers, for buying the mind share of those consumers, for buying the time of those consumers, or these days they call it the eyeballs of the consumers. So this is a unique market. Media market is unique in the sense that the products and services are dual in nature. That needs to be always kept in mind, because this is a product which is influencing your mind. Otherwise, the government or any regulator would not have the need or the necessity to create a different set of rules for the media organizations, because the other products and services are not impacting your mind. And mind, tastes, preferences have a lot to do with what you do as a member of a democracy, as a citizen, as a father, as a daughter, as a student, as a voter, as an executive, as a leader, and whatnot. Getting back, the comparison between the mass media and the consumer media. The mass media, if you say, look at television broadly, the control is mostly with the distributor. The control is mostly with the provider, the channel. You don't have much control on this. They do have certain systems of getting feedback and then responding to it, but yet the kind of interactivity that is provided to you by the digital platforms like mobile, smartphones, internet, or the social media, they are simply unthinkable today in the case of television or newspapers or radio. That is, the control in case of mass media remains with the distribution or the provider, whereas in the consumer media, the control goes to the consumer. That is expanded. There the choices are expanded, and that is happening because of the technology. The technology has become now individual or customer centered. Earlier we were broadcasting. In that sense, if you wish, you can call newspaper is a broadcaster, radio is a broadcaster, a television is a broadcaster, because you are accessing large number of people. When we say broadcasting here, by broad we means large number of people, large number of audiences, the masses or the mass audience. As opposed to that, internet, social media, digital platforms as a general category, they are providing you the facility of narrowcasting. For example, in your email preferences, if you write that you want certain information about technology or business, or in business, certain kind of businesses like share market or steel market or the commodity market, you will get alerts on that. That is narrowcasting. If you go for certain mobile alerts to be provided by your service provider, you will be getting alerts if there are certain things of importance happening in that area on your mobile. That is the difference, where the choices and flexibility have increased. So the control in the first case, that is in mass media, is with the distributor. The control in the case of the digital platforms is with the consumers. Then there is the issue of linear and non-linear experience. By linear experience we mean that if you watch a program on television, that immediately may not be available to you without the assistance of any additional digital technology. Whereas if you are doing on a digital platform like mobile or desktop or laptop through the internet or connected through the internet with the other networks, then you can access from any point to any point. If you are watching a movie on television, usually you will have to see it end to end. But if you are watching on a laptop or a computer or mobile, you can start in the middle. You can start with the end. That is known as the digital and the analog platform, and the linear and the non-linear. The non-linear experience means you can access any kind of content, or you can access any particular kind of content from anywhere. So one, any kind of content from anywhere, and any kind of content from a bouquet of content that is being provided to you. So from the linear experience that didn't have much of choice and flexibility, you have moved on to the non-linear experience. For advertisers also, now the options are many. They can pick up a particular story on the internet or mobile platform. They can pick up a time frame also. They can pick up a certain space as well as time, which was not so much available in terms of the choice and flexibility to the advertisers. Impersonal and personal. These are the two things which go a long way in defining the difference between mass media and the consumer or the interactive media. For example, right now we are communicating or talking through EduSat. I am speaking and you are listening. I am providing the information and you are getting the information. There is not instantaneously feedback system where you can ask questions and I can answer questions, and there is no immediate give and take. That is impersonal. I can't see your faces. Maybe there are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people who are watching this channel, but they may be watching me. I am not watching them. That is impersonal. The personal is when you are interacting through a mobile or internet or social media. Each individual, each actor, the way you wish. It becomes 24/7. The consumer today is able to control almost every aspect of consumption. When to consume or use the media, where to use the media, what of the available content to be used. So when, where, what, how, all such things now are almost in the hands of the consumer. That makes it highly personal, interactive, as opposed to the mass media where the interactivity is limited. In television or newspapers, you send your mails through their websites, and then they would be responding to it in a delayed manner. The letters to the editor would also be published the next day. However, if you do it on the Facebook, if you do it on the blog, if you do it on the Twitter, everything happens almost instantaneously if you wish. If you want to delay it, that is your choice. But the technology is something which makes it possible for you to instantaneously connect with each other. Now there is something that we need to understand from the economic perspective, the traditional economic tools perspective. The mass media are generally considered to be oligopolistic, whereas in the consumer media, the nature of competition is such that you can call it a very high level of competition. Very high number of players are there, dispersed number of consumers with a very good number of information, content, internet and news providers. Let's look at it in a slightly detailed manner. In a monopolistic situation, there is only one provider. For example, in railways, there is almost no option. Till 90s, 80s, in television, Doordarshan had almost monopoly in the television sector. In the radio news sector, even today, the government has a monopoly. That is known as the monopolistic market situation, where there could be large number of consumers, but there will be only one seller. Single seller market is known as a monopoly market. Then there will be monopolistic competition. In monopolistic competition, there will be, say, 8 to 10 players, 8 to 10 channels, 8 to 10 newspapers or radio channels. That is monopolistic competition. But in oligopoly, that number is reduced to 2 to 3. This number is reduced to 2 to 3 for the simple reason that it becomes financially unviable for the TV channels or the newspapers to continue. So they sort of share amongst themselves the different segments of the market to remain afloat. That is mostly in television today, not so much in newspapers. Whereas in the consumer media, you have got n number of choices available, so much that if one kind of content is not available on one website, you know that for sure you can get it on another website, and most likely it will come to you free. It may come to you as free, but it has its own bane, it has own problems, because any free content cannot be provided indefinitely. And without business model, no website can survive. There is one newspaper website, Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is one of the very few websites in the world that is charging for access, and they have been able to survive because of that, mostly, but not others. This problem or this bane of free content is not easy to tackle. If once or for over a period of time the audiences are brought on getting free content, they are used to getting it for free. It is like air getting free, getting water almost for free, and if you are being charged for it, then you feel bad. And if you think that if one seller or one provider is charging money for content, why not get it from another provider? Because another provider is ready to give you free content. So it is more a matter of habit, and also the choices available. If every producer decides that, look, in the interest of our survival, in the interest of providing quality content, let's join hands, and by joining hands, we are able to survive, and we are also able to provide quality content to the consumers. That is a possibility. There is a midway that has been suggested by one Anderson. He says that it's good to start with a model that is known as freemium, meaning you make available free content only partially. Suppose there is a well-researched write-up on the current controversy on conversion. You make available only 1 or 2 paragraphs that teases your readers or surfers or the audience online, and then you say, if you pay $1, if you pay half a dollar, if you pay 10 rupees or 50 rupees or 5 rupees, you can download it for free. That is known as freemium. That is, part of the content comes to you, maybe mostly introduction or the highlights of it for free to start with, and once you are interested in this, you want to read it, you want to get it, you want to download it, you want to watch it. If it is a movie, then you get a trailer. If it's a sports match available, you get a trailer of it, the video clips, and you want to download, you pay for it. That is known as premium content. So there would be a freemium content and there would be a premium content. Freemium content is to tease you, to create a desire in you, an interest in you for the content, and then the premium content will come to you through payment, through subscription. But this is only a partial solution to the problem of getting free content. You need to develop, or we need to develop as a media economy, stakeholders, a business model with the help of technology, with the help of accurate, intense research with regard to the preferences, the tastes of the consumers, and also their paying abilities. A business model that takes care of those challenges of making money and surviving on the content, and thus being able to provide quality content, the content that you can use. In news these days, they call it the news that you can use. Most of the news comes for free. So how you can use it? You can use it if it carries with it certain distinctive features about an issue, about a place, about a problem, and that gives you an edge over the rest. And that is why the Wall Street Journal, WSJ.com, survives, because those who operate in the financial market, they need information about the shares second by second to buy and sell them, to postpone any activity, or to take a decision immediately. Since they need the information immediately, they have to buy it, and that is how that model works. But every segment cannot be related to the business segment or the business model. It has to have a more larger, expanded attribute, so that it includes other aspects of life as well. Now let's have a look at how we are influenced in terms of our media consumption. What are the factors that influence our consumption or use of media? I'll just take a digression. Till a few years ago, before the coming of the digital platforms, or rather their easy availability, if you talked about consumer media, you will be scoffed at. The academics mostly, or the people who brand themselves to be serious, thinking, policymakers, they will look down upon you. For them, anything that pertains to profit, anything that pertains to consumer or consumption was an anathema, but not anymore. The middle class strength or population in India is 30 crore, 300 million, is close to the population of the US, meaning in India you have got one complete US in terms of its purchasing power. And that middle class, the great Indian middle class, by the same title there is a book by an author. It was one of the bestsellers. So this great Indian middle class, the fat Indian middle class, the size of which is 30 crore, is now getting its due share in terms of media platforms, in terms of variety of the content that was simply lacking till yesterday. More so, this middle class is going to be the engine of growth. This engine of growth cannot be ignored any longer. So, getting back to how we are moving from mass media to consumer media and the mass audience to consumer audience, most of the theories that we have till date are about the mass media and the mass audience. The consumer media, the customized media and the individual customer are demanding separate theories, separate norms, or rather customized norms to be explained in terms of their tastes and preferences. And we are looking forward to the brainstorming sessions by the policymakers in this, so that you are able to provide right kind of content at the right point of time, and also are able to get the revenue, the required revenue, the much needed revenue, so that you survive and are able to provide a well-researched and quality content. To start with, as a child, your media habit is influenced by your parents, your family. Once you go out, your school, your peers, your teachers, they influence how you are going to use media. Then the religion to which you belong, the church, the temple, the mosque, the synagogue, they influence the manner in which you are going to consume media. Your gender, male, female, and other genders, they all have to play a role. The workplace, what kind of mobiles are being used by your peers, whether they are using laptop or tablet or notebook or a desktop, affects the manner in which you are going to first buy a media product or platform or device, and then how you are going to use it. These put together will constitute the factors that influence your media consumption habits. But broadly, there are certain gender differences. Hard news, maybe, hardcore news would be more preferred or more liked by men than women. The sports may be more liked by men than women. The tragedies, soap operas, may be more liked by women than men. Saas Bahu Sajish may be more liked by women than men. Love stories would be more liked by women than men. These are globally accepted media consumption patterns. There may be certain differences pertaining to culture. For example, if you compare between the Asians in America or the first generation non-resident Indian or the person of Indian origin in America and those who are for 10 generations. You will realize that those who are there for 10 generations, meaning more than 200 years, they spend less time with the news and more time with entertainment, more time with snooker, more time with basketball, more time with boxing. And if you want to look at the psyche of the consumers or audience based on their media preferences, you can definitely get certain clues. If you are a first generation migrant in the US, you need to know every bit of news. News helps you prepare yourself for the next moment, especially with regard to the security scenario, where you should go, up to what time you should be there and not be going to a certain place. You must be knowing if you are visiting or you are living in a country which is not your country of birth. News in that case becomes important for Asians, more important for Asians than an average American. If you see that pattern, even in India, even in Delhi, for example, Delhi is a city of migrants. In 1947, after the division of the country into Pakistan and the remaining India, you had lakhs of, or rather millions of refugees coming from Pakistan. They created a different kind of Delhi. And they didn't know about the city, they didn't know about the reason, they didn't know about the culture. Hence, they demanded a different kind of newspaper. They demanded a different kind of story patterning, the different kind of reporting. And you had all of a sudden in Delhi-based newspapers, the content representing mostly the Punjabi community. Now, cut to 50 years later in 90s, where the migrants from the eastern belt of the countries, eastern UP, Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal, northeastern states have come to Delhi, and they constitute around 45 to 50 lakhs today in the capital. And you will see that the newspapers have got special segments pertaining to them and also their localities. Earlier there used to be 1 or 2 supplements. Now we have got in Delhi the newspapers that are coming with East Delhi supplement, Central Delhi supplement, South Delhi supplement, North Delhi supplement, West Delhi supplement. That is, you are representing the tastes of a certain community that has come recently or migrated to the city, and that is how you are able to profile community in terms of their media consumption. But that profiling can be done not only in terms of whether you are living in a place for generations or you are new, but also in terms of your culture. For example, the kind of consumption, the pattern of consumption will be there in Chittaranjan Park, where most of the residents are the people who migrated from East Bengal or Bangladesh of today, 40, 50 years back. Their consumption pattern is different from the adjoining areas of, say, Pampos Enclave or Greater Kailas or East Delhi. East Delhi has a major chunk from the eastern belt of India, and hence the content generated for them would be different from those who are living in South Delhi. That needs to be understood, that needs to be estimated, that needs to be factored in the business model as well, and should not be limited to the content generation. Newspapers are doing it profitably in this country. Maybe they are quite an old hand in this segment. Television channels are able to pick up the basics of business model to survive by meeting the challenges of market differentiation by meeting the challenges of revenue generation and coming up with a business model that makes a balance between the consumer and the revenues that are coming from them. I'll like you, beyond that, let's have a case study of television news in India. We are left with maybe 15, 20 minutes. We have 15, 20 minutes?
Yes, sir, definitely. Yeah.
So we can discuss about the television news case study with regard to the consumer media. And that has got a very hybrid case of freemium or free content that is available to the consumers. Roughly, there are 800 television channels in India, and 50% of them, that is 400 channels, are news channels. To this extent, it is fine. It is reflective of a very vibrant democracy. It is reflective of a very diverse set of people that we have. It is also reflective of the diversity of language and culture that India is all about. Next, which is alarming, is that out of the total advertisement that is coming to television in the media segment, only 15% is coming to television news. So your share in terms of channels is 50%, and your share in advertising is only 15%. The difference between an entertainment channel and a news channel could range anywhere between 5 times to 10 times. That is, if you are paying 1,000 rupees for 5 seconds on television news, you will be paying 10,000 for 5 seconds for an entertainment channel. That is alarming. A case study or a research shows that the disease has got deep roots. Deep roots in terms of both the consumers as well as the producers or television channels. Television channels till date have mostly been targeting men. They consider that men are the decision makers, men mostly watch news, and hence their programming is for evening. The morning programming, the afternoon and noon programming and pre-noon programming is targeting mostly women. And they think that women do not watch news, and hence they are not going to be a deciding factor. Recent surveys on the media consumption habits of housewives show that there has been tremendous increase in the number of women and the share of women watching news. So much so that they may be in a position to surpass men. They have got more time. After household work, they have more time. So they will read newspapers, they will watch television news, and they are complaining that much of the news that being dished out to them during the daytime is a repeat of what was done yesterday. That is alarming. It is high time that the television news reoriented its programming, reoriented its news collection, focused on the needs of women, the homemakers, who are not only deciding about themselves as individuals, but they are also deciding about their children, they are deciding about their husbands, they are deciding about other members of the family. That is one neglected segment. Advertisers, media buyers, media planners also need to understand it, failing which they will be missing on a very, very substantive decisive segment of the audiences or the consumers, and men only are not going to deliver in terms of television news. The other problem with television news is that they are spending very little, almost negligible, on research. One television news is hardly different from another television news channel. So if you watch this channel or that channel, makes no difference for the consumer or the audience. If it makes no difference for the consumers or the audience, how come is it going to make any difference to the advertisers or the media planners or media buyers or media sellers? It will not. It is important that these challenges of market differentiation are taken head on. This means we need to program differentiated or different kind of quality, well-researched content for different segments of the audiences and consumers. Then you will be getting back your audiences. Once you get that, you will have revenue for them also. And your over-dependence on the advertising will also go down. India is a country where consumers or audience are getting television news content almost for free. And yet we do not shy away or tire of pontifying that television news content is so bad. Dear friends, it is a very, very alarming situation. It's a challenge both to us as audience and consumers and to the television news channel providers, promoters also. It is a dual market, and the responsibility also has to be dual. You cannot get free content or free television news or free news. That has to be a quality news as well. It is hypocritical. As a citizen, we have to be sensitive to our own needs, sensitive to the needs of the news providers as far as the generation and production of the quality content is concerned. There are other problems with regard to the television rating point. Every week there would be TRP data release, and they call it Garda ho gaya, or they will call it there is a riot in a particular channel where the TRP has gone down, or they call it Rayata phail gaya, where your rating point has gone up, and you will celebrate. But this is so ephemeral. For a country of 125 crore, television audience meters are hardly 15,000. In whatever manner you are going to locate and fit and set or situate those television time machines, you call them, they are not going to be representative. Even if you are looking at the super rich middle class of 30 crore, 15,000 sample is simply deplorable, not enough to tell you what the consumers want. And that is where lies the bane of the television news channels, and that is where lies the bane of even television non-news entertainment and infotainment channels as well. Now we have got another 10 minutes or so. I'll request our host, Ms. Geetika Unyal, to have some questions from you, or also ask herself if you have got any questions.
Definitely, sir. I have lots of questions. As you yourself said that the condition is deplorable. While if we talk about the content of the media, the content which is provided for us, but there is an old maxim, there is an old thought which is often repeated, media for the people or people for the media. We used to say they both are interdependent. Media provides what the public wants, and the public says the media is providing what they want to show us. So what is the conclusion behind this?
There is a relationship of interdependence. A media channel is targeting the audience, the people, the citizens, the consumers, and the consumers, audience, people, citizens on the other are watching media, using media, and there is economics to it. There are costs involved. If you want a better car, you need to invest money in research and development. If you want an effective kind or type of fertilizer, you need to invest in the research and development. We want an effective cure for cancer and AIDS and the new varieties and strengths of tuberculosis. We are spending a lot in the research and development. Similarly, we will have to develop in the research and development of the content that needs money, and since subscription money, that is the money which is directly coming from the consumers, is negligible, and most of the money is being spent, if you take the example of television news channel, in paying the carriage fees, and whole of India is yet to be digitized. That is, the cable service providers are underpricing the number of connections. So the television channels are not getting enough money by way of the cable connections. And cable channels being mostly analog based, it is very difficult to monitor them. So it is the responsibility of every stakeholder to move towards a more informed, enlightened citizenship, democracy, and a business culture. Only a television channel, only the government of India, or only the consumers or the intermediaries cannot do it. Here comes the role of the regulator. Here comes the role of the government. Unfortunately, our regulations are yet to be put in place that are responsive, that are well planned. Today, most of the rules and regulations are made in reaction to a challenge rather than in response to the anticipation of a problem or challenge that will come later.
Definitely, sir, as you explained in detail. Now the question arises, if we talk about India as a whole, India is divided into many parts between rural India as well as urban India. Urban India is further divided, and then likewise the rural India is further divided. Now if we talk about the advertisement, do you feel so it is a cause of social discontent among the rural India and the urban India? Does it actually affect the revenue generation, particularly for the media?
You want to say that the advertising is causing some kind of discontent?
Social discontent in the sense that for all those, because when with the help of the media we promote a particular product or something like that, it is for all. Though it has a target audience,
Right.
but still it is a cause of discontent.
Yes, right. Technology is so empowering these days that if you do not like a certain kind of content, you just surf from one channel to another channel. You don't read that particular page of the newspaper. You don't read that newspaper at all if it is online or it is in hard copy. If you do not go to watch a movie that you don't like, or if about which there is a bad review, if you don't go to watch a play that you don't like, why will you watch a television channel or a program that you don't like? Why should you spend time watching or reading on a website that you don't like? So that is your choice. You cannot have that 18th, 19th century mentality of a citizen in the 21st century democracy that is very, very diversified, segmented, fragmented with the help of technology. So you need to be more media literate as a citizen, as a consumer, as part of the audience, than blaming it on the channel providers. However, there are channel regulators. I won't say they are so well placed, or I won't say that they are very much armed with laws, but they are evolving. Television, particularly in this India, is hardly 25 years old, the private television news, and when it was open to the market. Newspaper is around 275 years old. So newspaper is more regulated, television is not. The digital platforms are hardly 10 years old. So they are evolving, and the regulations will also have to be evolve along with that, and the government will have to be very, very proactive. Right now it appears to be more in the nature of reacting to a situation than responding.
With this note, I would like to thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for delivering such a productive session, and I hope that we would be able to carry the series that is on the media economics in our future lectures, so that the students who watch us regularly, those who sometimes skip their classes and tend not to go to the classes, would be benefiting from these lectures. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.